Welcome to Meet the Moment podcast, produced by the Real Estate Business Institute. This podcast is an exploration of what today's industry leaders and agents need to know to be profitable, productive, and have fun. I'm Matthew Rathman, and I'm joined by co-host Kimberly Allard as we chat with thought leaders, brokers, and agents who can help agents meet the moment of change in the real estate industry. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meet the Moment podcast. As always, I am Matthew, and I am joined by all of our friend, Kimberly Allard, the best podcast co-host anybody could ever have. Kimberly, how are you?
I'm well. My mother agrees with you on that one. Thank you. Our biggest fan. How are you? How have you been?
Good. Survived the holiday seasons, and we've had some a little bit of changing at the house. My daughter and the grandkids and her husband have been over for a bit, and just some change in dynamics, kind of the end of the year stuff. How about you?
Same thing. I do a lot of traveling. I do not have a lot of people at my house, but I'm the one that I may show up at your house. Friends and family and parents, and so yeah, a lot of traveling. It's good to be home, kind of rooted for a little while, putting together. I hate to say, it's new. It's a new year, but, reevaluating what I've done, looking at what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I am going to be making, if you want to come over this week, I'm going out after we get done to pick up the pork butt and make some carnitas. I make killer carnitas. You don't even know.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. They're good. Okay, when I get it right. Sometimes I oversalt them and then that's a mess, but it takes all day to make these things. So I try to make a big batch.
Is there drinking involved? Because that's usually where my cooking goes wrong.
Who the hell cooks and doesn't drink?
Right.
I don't understand. No, I put on the AirPods. Like when I cook, it's my time. So I put on the AirPods. I usually have the iPad there or something on, maybe music or usually a show, and a glass of whatever I want. And Jennifer leaves me alone and I go do my thing. She is a very good cook, doesn't actually enjoy the process, whereas I enjoy the process, and make it kind of my own little world there.
Occasionally, I cook with wine, and occasionally I put it in the food. Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right, cool. There you go. I love that you laughed at yourself, like right? your own dad joke, and you're like, "That's so funny."
Oh, it's bad.
All right.
Okay, what are we here chat? What are we going to share with our listeners today?
So, yeah, you and I were talking, and we don't have a guest this particular episode. You and I were talking about some of the questions we get asked when we're on the road about designations, certifications, who does what and how, and the impact on our businesses. And I think we had a little bit, I think we had a good conversation we wanted to share with everybody else about what agent education means. As knowledge workers, what we know is our value. And agents always, we talk about your unique value proposition and all this, but the consumer's perception of us, of our value, is what we know, what we can bring to the table. And our training is a pretty important part. We certainly worked with, you and I have worked throughout time with agents who didn't know what they were doing. And my agents come sometimes. I mean, it's a big part of our company culture, training and development. And then we're like, this other agent doesn't know what they're doing, and they're yelling and screaming. I'm like, I know, isn't that sad? Like, you should feel bad for them, not be mad at them. They don't know what they don't know. I think most people want to do things well. And so I don't know. I started, my first certification was ePro over 20 years ago. Basically back then it was about listservs. There's a whole section about listserv emails and how they could benefit you.
Internet.
It did. It talked about how to get the best modem for dial-up internet and some what we call netiquette. Netiquette is how you can behave well online on bulletin boards. I think I'm not sure bulletin boards under, but it feels like it was. It was kind of very 2003-ish. So it was a very early phase for technology. How about you? Do you remember what your first designation was?
Well, before I tell you what my first designation was, I want to tell you why I took a designation, because, our listeners are probably like, oh boy, here they go, right? We do not leave our with our real estate license with an ounce or a third or a fifth or a tenth of what we need to know when we hit the streets. And I recognize that right out of I got my license and I said, okay, now what? And whether we like it or not, a lot of brokerages aren't great at onboarding. Some are great at onboarding, some aren't, some don't have the resources, some do. And as a new agent, you don't know who's got these skills before you walk in the door. I remember being so thrilled I was recruited. And little did I know back then that recruited meant if you have a license, they'll hire you in some cases, right? Or they'll allow you to affiliate. And their recruiting was just get them right out of pre-licensing or right out of the you know, passing the exam. So I found myself in some of my best learning experiences about are from the mistakes or the things that I've maybe done well. I found myself not knowing, where do I get buyers from? Where do I get sellers from? How do I do this? What resources do I have for that? And I just said, look, I got to go out and find this stuff because
Yeah.
it just wasn't an opportunity to sit and learn from the person in the cube next to me, because often you're in direct competition with the people in your office, right? And I'm not saying everybody has the same experience, but let's just face it, we all needed something coming out of, I think Texas maybe has the highest number of pre-licensing hours with almost 200, but a
Mhm.
lot of states are well under 100. So, I found myself, now back to your question, I found myself saying, where am I going to learn all these things? And most of us come to real estate as a second career. And I remember all of the training in my first career, months and months of it. And then moving up the ladder, and your pay was commensurate with your knowledge and your experience. And this
Yeah.
whole real estate thing was just confusing to me. So, anyways, what did I do? I went to the Realtor Association for guidance, and they had a bunch of courses, and I quite frankly said, day one, I will get a designation or a certification every year as part of my business plan. Because when I was so new, I didn't have a sphere of influence that I could immediately grasp onto. I didn't go to school where I was then working. I didn't have kids in school where I was starting my real estate career. I didn't have college friends in that area. I didn't know anyone. So I really felt like I had to stand out. I had to be trustworthy and appear to be knowledgeable. And none of that I attained through getting my license. So that was really it. My first certification was back then, we're going late 90s, I think, was CBR, Certified Buyer Representative. And that was from RealNet Learning, I think, back then. And I never looked back. Now, I did not meet been in business 27 years, so I do not have 27 designations or certifications, but I think I have 15. So I skipped a few years.
Because you were teaching them. I went to we've talked about this in other episodes, like our origin story, so to speak. And I went to a brokerage with a very, very nice gentleman who was a broker, but he had been commercial his whole life and decided, and I didn't know what this meant at the time, but it was like, oh, we're going to do some residential stuff, and the split with hired and other people were offering. And there were four of us in the office. I went to my local association at the time, and they had 3 classes on the books. One was about the environmental impact of the Chesapeake Bay Act. One I can't remember, and the third one was self-defense for women. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know how to sell a house, so I don't know what this means.
Got nothing to
And
defend myself from.
yeah, that's exactly right. And this is a true story. People feel like I'm exaggerating. It's not. I went to the executive officer, the association exec, the AE at the time, and I said, hey, I need more training. Where can I get training? And she said, well, we put up classes as members request them, but we do have an education committee. You should show up. And I showed up at the education committee, and I swear, hand to God, there was one agent there who fell asleep 5 minutes in, to the point where we could actually audibly hear her snoring. And the other agent was there just to complain about all the transactions she was in and how nobody should get a license. And we have too many licensees. And that was the hour. And I said, this isn't good. And so the AE said, hey, there's this other committee. They focus solely on one class a year for new agents. It's 2 weeks long. You should take that class. And so I started taking that class. It was actually quite good.
She could have
My
led with
associate,
that.
well, it was a different group. So it wasn't like the official, it was a non-official group of the association, if it makes sense.
Okay.
Anyways, so I took that and I'm like, hey, this isn't bad, but I need more. And I also got tired of hearing in that class how the instructor would say, well, I can't tell you all my secrets because you're my competitors. Well, like, why the hell are we here? So I decided to go out of the area. I took the ePro class, and then I went and took ABR. Actually, Adorna Carroll was my ABR instructor decades ago. She loves when I emphasize decades ago.
I'm sure.
Um, and then I went and took our GRI class, and our GRI back then was a lot of days. I don't remember what it was, but you had to travel all over the state to get it. And I met somebody just in my travels who I guess we'd taken about 3 classes together, again, because you had to travel in the state,
Sure.
and she is now a broker, I'm a broker. We have referred clients back and forth each other for 20 plus years, because of the people that I met in the classroom. When I go to place a referral, there's 2 things I look for in your bio. Do you love dogs?
Yep.
And do you have designations? Because it tells me a little bit about you. At least you took the extra effort to know more than a person just coming out of class. And I also, I know this is a jerk thing to do, but if you send me an email and you've got some and you don't have any designations, and I go look at the licensing board, and you don't have any continuing ed, and you're a month out from your licensing, that starts to paint a picture. If we're knowledge workers and you're not investing in your knowledge, then I'm going to be far more skeptical of your ability to do our job than if you were somebody who had these manifestations, that you're a knowledgeable person, that you're working on your education.
You know what allows us to present ourselves with 40 hours of pre-licensing and passing an exam? I mean, now I know how many thousands of feet there are in an acre. Yahoo! I know the different 43,560, right? I mean, and I know what type of deeds there are, right? I mean, it's important information, but it is nowhere near enough. So, the first question is, if your mindset is, I'm just gonna sit at an up desk and take calls and make no further investment, and people recognize that, they see that, right? And you and I have said it, there is a licensed real estate agent in every community in your Commonwealth and in mine. There's almost 70,000 in Massachusetts. And that means with 231 communities, you, as again, Adorna Carroll has said, you can't swing a cat without hitting a real estate agent. And what are you doing to stand out? And yes, we all like to think we choose great brokerages and great mentors, but it is incumbent upon us as business owners in our own business to kind of prepare ourselves. Tell us what GRI stands for, please, right?
Yeah, the Graduate Realtor Institute. I get that there are some agents who are educating themselves in other ways, because we hear that pushback too, and especially right now, there's agents watching YouTube stuff and there's whatever. Generally speaking, your designation instructors, certification instructors, are vetted, right? That somebody has listened to them speak, they've gone through a process, not always, but a lot of times, and and they're vetted and they're put in front of people because they're generally not knuckleheads. They have something of value, and some people chose them to do that. It's not just anybody who can grab a YouTube channel and start spouting out a bunch of stuff, or the crazy stuff on Facebook, which is a truth statement, by the way. I was teaching a class recently. This one person said, I don't think that's true here. And I'm like, this is actually one of the 3 states I'm licensed in. I'm like, no, it's true. What makes you say it's not? Well, I was on this Facebook group the other day, and the second I hear that, I've shut down. Like, that person could probably be saying something true, but I just assume it's not if they learned it on Facebook. So, this is our opportunity to get in front of instructors who hopefully have been vetted, and generally speaking, designations can go everywhere. Like REBI, we have everything from the Right Start program, which is brand new agents to the business, all the way through the CRB, the Certified Residential Broker training, that has a module about your retirement. Like, how do you get out of this business? How do you sell your company, and what's your succession plan and all that? So we cover from, cradle to grave, so to speak, in that training. And if I were today to go to a new state, let's say I, for some reason, followed my kids, my grandkids are everything, and they have to, their job takes them out of the state, and I was going to relicense and move, I wouldn't work for a broker who didn't have a CRB, because I think, again, I need to see that they've invested in their own training, development, and education before I would ever be able to follow them.
So how long is that? What type of commitment are we talking about? I mean, we've all just come out of the holidays. We've already planned our schedules for the years. If I want to fit in a CRB, uh, what am I looking at? What's my commitment from time?
Well, we we're in the middle of fixing that, not fixing it, but changing that into a point system. And so, right now, you could probably get 4 one-day classes and be done with it. We're working on a program that's going to let you kind of meander through whatever classes you feel are necessary for you. It could be succession planning, it could be policy, it could be finance, it could be coaching and mentoring, it could be recruiting, and you take the classes that you feel are right for you and what your academic needs are, and of a point system. So we'll be rolling that out next year in 2026. But for now, the current program, it gives credit for other programs and other things that you've done, but you could knock it out in 4 days.
So it's customizable. And if I'm thinking, I mean, we all set some pretty high goals for ourselves every, January, February, but maybe one of the goals should be is help me help myself, right? So I go over to rebinstitute.com and I sign up and start picking some modules that resonate, or, things that I maybe have chosen as goals for this year. I commit some time. I'm going to get great instructors. And as you mentioned, I mean, yeah, you want to go out on YouTube and get this stuff for free, knock yourself out. But let's talk about the fact that those people may not know your laws. They may certainly not know the Realtor Code of Ethics, and their behavior suggestions may be marginal at best, or, certainly we're concerned with ethical and legal. But the REBI instructors are vetted. They do have to get recertified. They do have to be somewhat, experts in the area that they're speaking on. We just can't read a script. There is a certification process.
Yeah, so let's. I do think it's important that we kind of break down what certifications and designations and what the difference are, and what ISCs, so institute societies and councils are. So REBI, our Real Estate Business Institute, is an affiliate of NAR. In other words, our courses and curriculum work through the committee structured NAR. We are a partner with them that delivers education, and we are one of several. So the Institute, Society, and Councils, WCR, CRD, which is the NAR own designations, and RBI is the largest of those families. And so we offer designations and certifications. Designations are a process. You have to take the class. Sometimes there's a test, depending on the state or whether CE is involved. And then you have to have an elective that goes with it. We do partner with our other ISCs for some of those electives. Once you've taken that program, there is a fee that's due, and that is ongoing. So there are designations every year. You re-up as a member, and there are newsletters, there's downloadable resources, we have communities inside of our ABI, and then certifications are one and done. You take the class, you're certified. So long as you remain an NAR member in good standing, you have that certification. So we are working on some certificate programs and other programs like Right Start, where a broker could say, you know what, the best use of my time is not doing rudimentary training and development for agents. So we're going to have how to do marketing, how to do business planning, all that kind of stuff. These programs are already built. An online version of these programs are already built, and the broker could white label it so it has their label, their name, their everything on it, and put their agents through this for a very low cost to get them up and running. And so the broker and the agent may pay for it, or the broker may pay for it. But if a broker were to do the math, so to speak, and say, okay, what is my time worth and how many hours do I need to put in it? Most brokers don't have 20 hours to put into a new licensee in the first week or so. And if they did, they're certainly worth more than a couple $100 of their time. So that program is for them.
Don't we hear, and again, brokers, agents, sometimes money is just, they don't, I don't think designations and certifications cost. I think they pay. You've already given an example of that, of the reciprocal relationship you've had with somebody that you first met in one of your early on education programs. I'm going to expand on that. My very first uh, realtor education experience resulted in a referral. And
Yeah.
that was 26 years ago, out of my 27-year career, and it has continued as well. So these designations and certifications are a lot more than learning. And when you hear the pushback and the complaints of, well, I don't want to pay an annual fee, you mentioned, Matthew, that there are, communities, if you will, online where you can literally go in and say, hey, I'm an agent from X, state, and I need a real estate negotiation expert, RENE, in another state. Now,
Yeah.
even if you're part of a big brand like I am, or even if you're part of a boutique, this is a resource that shouldn't be understated. It's huge. So this is why there's a reoccurring fee for those things, because the resources change every year and they get better.
I hear more people acknowledge the value of the education and the designation than I do complain about it. It depends, it depends on your circle. I was at a association meeting recently, and this person said, "Well, everybody I know always complains about X, Y, Z," and I said, "You need to find better friends." I mean, if they're negative all the time, I don't need that in my life. But most of the people that I know, and most of the learners that I know, and most of the agents that I work with, desperately value education and knowledge. Not always that they're the same thing, but they value it. And but you do hear some of your detractors will say things like, "Well, those letters never got me any business." Then you use them wrong. Then you use them wrong.
Yeah, you
I
weren't
mean,
paying attention.
yeah, I mean, like let's say you take a marketing the listing certificate program or the AI certificate program.
And I'm going to interrupt
That
you. How long are they?
one day, each of those
Well,
is a 1 day
okay,
class,
so a 1-day class, a 1-day
one and
investment.
done.
Now go ahead.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and say I take the marketing and listing class. When I know the sitting in class, take a picture of the cover of the book and go, I'm taking continuing ed today. Part of your marketing should be that you're a knowledge worker that is constantly getting training to better serve the consumer. But also when I sit in front of you. So you mentioned earlier, I think you said 70,000 licensees. The Commonwealth of Virginia has 84,000 licensees. We're 1.4 million members out here. The consumer is likely to be interviewing more than one agent, or at least be entertaining the idea of interviewing more than one agent. And if they're interviewing somebody who goes, yeah, I've been doing this for a bunch of years and this is what I got for you. And if I sit down with them and go, look, I've been doing this for a long time, but um, let me show you that I actually took a class on how to do advanced marketing for your property. I took a class on being a better negotiator. I have this designation here for being a better buyer agent. It's part of the story I'm telling consumers that I've taken some advanced training outside of what others have to better serve their needs. That's where the conversion point is as far as a consumer. Internally, if I take an 8-hour class on AI and I don't learn how to be more effective, be more productive, do better marketing, then it probably wasn't a good use of my time, which is why when we wrote that program, when we teach that program, it is all about how to pay tenfold what you invested in that one day to learn how to do the job better and how to use more effectively in your productivity and your marketing and all the rest. And so that's where the return on investment comes from. Because I agree, a consumer who sees the litany of letters after my name on a business card, they don't know what any of that means or they care. My insurance guy has a whole bunch of letters after his name. I have no idea what they meant. When I was a EMS medic, I was an emergency service for real estate. I had a bunch of letters after my name for advanced
Kind
training
of
I
the same.
took.
Kind of the
Yeah,
same.
but that's 100% the same. When I showed up on the side of the road and you were upside down in the car, you really didn't care that I was a pediatric trauma life support certified medic. Um, you cared about getting, care, right? That's all you wanted. We're not in that world where it's we're in a world where people need to be told why it's valuable, just like your own services. When I go tell that consumer that they should hire me as their buyer representative, I have to tell them why my services are superior to my competitors. Having the designation or certification that you tell them this is what it means creates the value, the perception of the value. So, for example, if you have a website and you're like, I have a bunch of letters after my name, spell them out, list them, list the acronym and accredited buyer rep, seller representative specialist, whatever it is. So I mean, that's part of the continued marketing. It's on my website. It spells out what they are with a link to the person who granted them, explaining what that certification or designation is for. So if a consumer is on my website before our meeting and they look and see what those letters mean, they click the link, it tells them there's an outside entity that has certified me at a higher standard of education or knowledge than maybe my competitors.
I it always is amazing to me that people are like, "Oh, what are you gonna do in your downtime?" I'm like, "What downtime?" I don't understand how agents have downtime. I get what they're saying, but I feel like part of running a business isn't just listing and selling, it's educating yourself so you can do the listing and selling better. Which means to me that if I'm not listing and selling, I'm looking for the next class I can take. I have a list of classes that I can't wait to sit through for a variety of reasons. But I mean, so 27 years later for me, you and I both do a considerable, you more than I, but a considerable amount of teaching and helping others learn and listing and selling. I run a brokerage, you manage a brokerage. There is not one time that I have said to myself, you know what? I don't need to learn more. And there's not usually one time where I sit through, well, certainly not an REBI class or a CRD class, where I say to myself, well, I could have done without that. If I walk away with just one thing that helps me do my business better, smarter, faster, service my clients better, smarter, safer, with a higher level of service, I'm thrilled. So it's just shocking to me that agents say, oh, maybe I'm going to go get a part time job, or maybe I'm going to, I didn't nothing to do this week because I have no listings. I'm like, you know what? Here's some curriculum that you could spend the foreseeable future taking. I don't know how you think you have downtime when even 27 years later, I find this stuff valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I hear what you're saying. If I go take a class and I get one thing of value out of it, was worth the class. I'll tell you, as someone who has written or co-written or rewritten a lot of the
A
designation
lot.
certifications, um, I will never write a class where you're only getting one thing out of it. Should be some new idea or concept pretty much frequently. If you walk out of a class from pretty much any of the ISCs, any of the NAR programs, and you only got one thing, that was on you. That's because you were texting and writing addendums instead of paying attention in the class, right? That
Right.
was because all these classes are packed with information and resources. And I get a lot of feedback from people. I've been doing this for, and so do you. I mean, we've seen your
Yeah.
reviews. A lot of these people have been doing this. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I had no idea that was there. And this was the most enlightening class, and all the rest. And you have to wonder, why did it take you 20 years to figure out how to be a good buyer agent? But they do. They get new concepts and new resources out of there. And I don't know. I know a lot of you and I are friends with most of the writers of these NAR ISC's designations, certifications, and they're incredibly thoughtful, bright, and experienced people who are putting their time in to make sure that other agents are serving their clients trust better. And this is a big thing for me. I've talked about this on our podcast before. The fact that the consumer trusted you should already instill in you the desire to do the best possible job of any other competitor they could have chosen, right? You should strive for that, because trust is so hard to get. um I don't want to damage my clients because of what I didn't know, so I'm going to invest in the training. To your point about downtime, we these classes are available online and self-paced. They're online, virtual. They're in person. All over the country. A little bit of planning is helpful, and you're talking about 1 or 2 days. Even if you're only pursuing one specialty training a year, 1 or 2 days out of the year to be able to do the things at a higher level should just be a mandate that everybody puts on themselves. If you were the CEO of a company, you would expect your staff to be investing in advanced training to do a better job, especially as inexpensive as the training is. I think this is a good place to also say, not every class that you see that's a designation or certification, I'm doing air quotes here, is an NAR program. And
Right.
there's a one or two entities out there that will send emails going, this is available for NAR members or for MLS members, and they make it appear to be an affiliate with MLS or the association. And to me, honestly, that just strikes me that if they're being misleading in their marketing and positioning themselves as someone who is, doing this on behalf of or for members, if they're being listening to marketing, what are you learning in the classroom? Are you going to also learn how to be deceptive in your marketing or misleading? Attend at your own risk is what I would say, because some instructors, a lot of instructors, are very, very into making sure you walk out the door. Like most of us as speakers and instructors, and this is a opinion, um, would likely make more money going out and listing and selling that day, but instructing is a calling for a lot of us, right? I know it is for you, it is for me. And so going and teaching that class is to help invest in other agents, and sure, we make some money off of it, and sometimes we don't. But there's a lot of these schools, like these uh, a lot of schools, we'll just say, outside of the institutes, societies, and councils, where it's just about making money. So it's the least possible effort and just getting some content out there, just enough to collect some money and go on with their day.
Well, they're trying to sell you another product. I mean, you and
Yeah,
I are
or system or something.
yeah, you and I are prohibited from selling any product that we would benefit from during any of our presentations. But let's get back to, so I'm a new agent or I'm a broker. Maybe I'm a new broker. I've taken the CRB, spent, like you said, very little time getting a ton of information at a very reasonable cost. But now I want to bring on new agents, or maybe I want to start a team. I'm going to let you talk about the team in a minute, but I'm going to talk about new agents. The Right Start program that our REBI has is amazing. Now, I took it 25 years into my career, and it was a great reminder of me of things that I knew I should be doing, but somehow I've lost over 25 years. Or it was a great outline for things that I wanted my agents to do that, quite frankly, I didn't want to sit in front of a computer and reinvent the wheel again. Whatever money that I could spend having my agents, if I, in a perfect world, sit through the Right Start program would, like you said, um, you couldn't do a program like this on your own. So here's a shout out for the Right Start program. You guys are brokers, you're struggling with education, you're struggling with providing content, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. Write a check, it's a short number, and get your agents, give them the head start that they need, or the right start that they need. It is fabulous. I mean, it talks about setting up to be a buyer agent, setting up to be a seller agent, and it also talks, which I think is a topic not often reviewed enough, which is how to set up a business in real estate, because you are a business owner. So I can't talk about that program enough. And local associations, you don't want to have your own orientation, you can offer the REBI Right Start program. Fabulous, fabulous resource. All right, so Matthew, now I've decided that I've got a foundation underneath me, and I'm going to start a team.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, we have so many network or partners, so to speak, in the institute, society, and councils. REBI is where we both have, just for transparency here, served in leadership, so we know this content curriculum backwards and forwards. And a lot of the classes from REBI were created because they weren't addressed for other institutions or other entities in the business. And so CRETS is one of those classes. The CRETS program is for team leaders. And by the way, it's a certified real estate team specialist. I mentioned this in a couple of our episodes beforehand, that team leading is what a lot of agents aspire to. And for my own company, in order for an agent to create a team, they have to meet with me for a day or two, because if you're a broker and you allow teams, you are probably aware that it can be a lot of drama. You've got agents who may or may not come from leadership backgrounds, who are just good agents, and their idea of starting a team is to get a buyer agent or listing agent on their team and get some of their income and duplicate themselves, and it could be a disaster, and it could be a huge liability. There's been lots of lawsuits between team leaders, and they drag the brokers in and all the rest. And so over time, we've heard a lot of brokers that we've talked to, friends of yours of mine, go, I just don't allow teams in my company. Well, good luck with that, because we've entered an era of real estate that's so demanding that a single individual agent is struggling to really keep up. And so teams for a successful agent may be the right path. The CRETS program is a series of courses that go from everything from the human resources part to how to be profitable to just leadership principles 101. I love this program. When I mentioned to you, I think in a prior episode, that when my company, an agent in my company says that they want to start a team, I send them, I think it's a 6 or 7 page document that they have to complete. And it is, I would say 50-50 whether the agent goes, I don't have time to fill this out. Well, then you don't have time to build a team.
Right.
Or they fill out half the form and go, this was so intensive. And, I answer all these questions about what happens when they divorce and leave the team and how to compensate them. And I haven't even thought about that. I'm just going to do well, then what you've done is just create a buyer agent who you have a standing referral agreement with. You don't need an organized team, because organized teams should have LLCs and a financial plan. And if you're a hot mess walking in, your team's a hot mess. So Kretz helps you navigate what does it really mean to be a team leader. And by the way, if you're a broker, you should take that class as well, because it helps you oversee the teams and provide resources and tools. And all these things are not about just the class itself. It's all the tools in the back end that once you're certified, you have access to help you run your team and manage it, and policies you should have in place and things like that. So that's the team leader one.
Well, so let's talk about resources. So, I'm maybe taking the Right Start program because I'm new, or like me, I was 25 years in and wanted a refresher on how can elevate my business. I'm a broker. I want to learn about teams and how, like you said, better oversee them. I'm an agent that wants to start a team. Fabulous. What type of resources? Because a lot of people, they sit in a class, and like you said, if you're only taking away one thing, you might not be a great student. But what if I said that as nicely as I could. Usually I take away so many things from a class. I'm just overwhelmed, and I've got a year full of things I can add to my business plan. But
Yeah.
what type of resources might a broker get, or somebody looking to start a team? Like, what are they going to walk away from this class with? Because I think this stuff is invaluable.
Yeah, it is. So the once certified, once you're in addition to the education, everything you get,
Yep.
like for credit, I mean, we have for RBI, we have uh, team leader worksheets, we have templates for business planning, we have suggested elements. We don't create your contract with your downline or your vertical or horizontal teams, but we do have the elements that need to be there, things you would want to incorporate into it, into your policies. And then we have the templates for that, and I start with, especially when it comes to CRETs, I start with, you're going to start a team, huh? Let's start with a divorce in mind. What's the prenuptial look like? Have you thought about vacation times for your teams? Have you thought about, if you're hiring an assistant, what they're going to be? And REPA, the real estate professional assistance class, is a companion to all of this, which we also have at REBI. And that is a program that says, I'm going to hire an assistant. You can send them to our class for 2 days, and you're going to cover a bunch of stuff that agents have. Matter of fact, half of my classes I've taught with the REPA program have actually been agents who are wanting to learn how to set up their teams to bring on staff, either virtual or in-person assistant, and get their tools in place and all the rest, because a lot of team leaders don't have the time to invest and train an assistant. So both REPA and the CRETS program have a lot of productivity tools and planning and templates, and then some social media marketing assets, and other items that are ongoing. Plus, once you're a designee of this, a member, there's also a member center that has ongoing, like, micro learning training for specific tasks and things you need to do, everything from finances to risk management, policy creation, and all that. So it's a pretty rich resource. I mean, I'm only skimming some of it, but it's a pretty rich resource in the after you're a member.
So, policies, procedures. I mean, obviously, you need to run them through your own state, but this is kind of like, I don't want to say sales toolkit in a box, but I guess I just did. You could really leave some of these very reasonably committed time courses and have resources to then take the next step. I always get frustrated when I take a class and I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose, and then I'm just so overwhelmed. I go home and I said, "Oh, I'm going to really implement all this stuff." And then I just don't take the next step because I'm just overwhelmed. But
Yeah,
when you've got the resources, the support, the forms, the outlines, it's your next step is right there for you.
yeah,
And we think about it. I mean, uh, again, I look at some of the things that I've learned from the RENE course, and that's the Real Estate Negotiation Experts course, Matthew, which you just gave a great presentation with the Donna Carroll to instructors on all of the new changes that have been made to that course. And I just look at some of the things in there, and it's just the money that you pay to sit through that class is pennies compared to what you're learning in negotiations. And we just heard in a previous podcast, a lot of the people we're co-broking with today don't even know how to handle home inspection issues because they've been waived for so long, or they've never been practiced in the COVID market. So I don't enjoy learning by, fire or whatever that expression is. I like to
Yeah,
be prepared going in. So, um,
yeah.
the RE&E course especially really gets into the psychology of negotiations.
Yeah, it's 2 days, and it gives you actually the practical aspect on the second day, and if you've taken it in the past, it's worth taking again because 'cause we've kind of rewritten it with a lot of, much more current day practical stuff and, like, buyer compensation negotiations, and this is sadly I'll say sadly, when the NAR settlement came down, the agents who are struggling for why would people pay me now? And if it's not paid by the seller, how am I going to convince a buyer to pay me? And it's like, if you've taken any of these programs, you have built a toolkit worth the money you're charging for. Now it's up to you to deliver that value to the consumer. But these programs helped answer all of those questions, including how do you negotiate for your compensation and how you do it confidently. I do want to give a quick shout out to our partner at CRD, the Center for Realtor Development. And I'm because I'm going to use this as an example. We're starting to see short sales emerge again in our marketplace, and I've got agents. We've talked about this in a lot of episodes. I've got agents who, in the past 5 years, they got in beginning of COVID time period or right around that time. They haven't had to do even price reductions, nonetheless a short sale. And every once in a while, I'll get an agent in my own company going, "Hey, my buyer wants to make an offer on a short sale, and what do I need to know?" And they text it to me, which is I hate text for business, by the way. Text is like, "Hey, can you meet me here this afternoon? And can you call me this afternoon?" It's not for 16 paragraph, which should be an email or a phone call. And I'm like, I cannot by text or email prepare
Explain
you to represent
6
a
years to
buyer.
you.
Yeah, exactly right. Or especially listing a short sale. There's a reason why that's an 8-hour class. And
Right.
every bit of that 8 hours is necessary for the successful outcome of a short sale in that case. Just like with the SRS, we have a 2-day class that really should be 3. Every hour there is going to
What is
make you a better
SRS,
agent. The seller representative specialist. I guess we need to start.
right?
Yeah. Kim's job in this episode is to go, what is that thing that I know? Um,
Right. Yeah. No, I know what it is just for clarity, but, I find that people, when they don't understand, I mean, and not that they don't understand, we have smart listeners, but they want to make a decision on taking a class. It's January, it's spring, we're going to be learning new skills. Everybody's ready to go to the gym and hopefully take a designation or a certification class. And, we want everybody to be educated. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, 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 no. That's exactly. I'm just saying the time to know these things, the time to be a really good marketing person for listings, the time to understand how a short sale work is not a week before you get the short sale listing.
Yeah, you're going to get
Okay,
sued, first of all, or your broker's going to or your broker's going to prohibit you from taking that short sale. I had someone that said, "Oh, I got a friend that wants to find a rental." I'm like, "Well, you've never worked rentals, so you'll be referring that to somebody in our brokerage that has." And that was just not an acceptable answer to this person. And I get it. Nobody likes to turn away business, but the reality is you have to be reasonably skilled in the area that you're serving. So to your point, Matthew, if you didn't spend 5 or 6 years in short sales like the rest of us did, and you don't have that knowledge and you don't have the experience, then you've got to somehow recreate it. So if you think short sales, and if they haven't already, will be returning in your marketplace, then take a short sale course. You're
yeah,
competing for a listing, and somebody looks at you and says, they're going to say to you, "Well, I'm going to be interviewing 5 other agents." And my answer to them is, "Well, let me help you ask some questions, and you should ask them, what professional skills or training have they taken to prepare themselves to handle the sale of your property when it comes to a short sale? And let me tell you what I've learned. Now,
Yeah.
maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I'm guessing that if you want to demonstrate your commitment to their issue, you have to show that you've committed to learning what it is. And short sales were incredibly difficult to deal with if you didn't have the right team and the right knowledge and the right skills. And again, this is preparing yourself for tomorrow's business.
Yep. Yep. So, just to kind of wrap up here, just two resources for you if you're thinking about it or you've taken designation, like maybe I need to take the next one. REBinstitute.com is the Real Estate Business Institute's list of classes, again, as NAR's largest education affiliate. And the CRD, the Center for Realtor Development, you can go to train4re.com to go look at those classes. You can find live classes both with for REBI or CRD on those two websites. And again, there are other institutes, societies, and councils that offer NAR backed training. You can go look up for whatever specialty you're looking for. Those are the two primary ones that we recommend you start off with for the specialty designations and training that's out there. So, Kimberly,
And
what else? What else do we need to know?
well, I mean, I think we can tell our listeners that, some of them do have the reoccurring fees. You're under no obligation to pay them if you just want the knowledge. If you just want the knowledge, you want to sit through the class and you don't want to renew your designation. I mean, we would prefer that you do, so you have all up-to-date information, but you don't have to. So we'd rather have you knowledgeable and leave than not knowledgeable at all. So again, not the desire, but it's the option. Many of these classes are as short as a half a day. Some of them can go on multiple days. And prices, Matthew, we're talking a couple of $100 in most cases, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the class, $75 to $200 for getting, decades of knowledge delivered to you in a compressed time period.
Yep. And you will learn from some fabulous instructors. Please don't call continuing ed learning. It is continued employment. It is things that you should have known when you got your license and maybe have forgotten, but it is not. It's continued employment. It is not continued education. Matthew, we have an email address, don't we now, at REBI?
We do have an email set up for our podcast. It is podcast@rebinstitute.com. Again, podcast@rebinstitute.com. And you can send us any questions you've had from past episodes, anything related to this, ask us about questions in classes, and future ideas, things you'd like to hear us chat about over our virtual drinks during the day. We don't day drink, at least not that we're going to
Speak for yourself.
to, but we're this is our come hang out with us podcast. And so send us some emails and we'll look at it there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
so Kim,
co-host, guest suggestions. If you've got somebody you'd like to hear us chat with, please just drop us a line.
yeah, all right, good. Okay, so Kimberly, we always end every episode with favorite app, tool, or resource. What's yours?
Well, so, and I just have to say this because as a broker owner of, I have maybe 12 to 15 agents at any given time. I'm also listing and selling. I'm also out on the road, teaching and speaking as you are, Matthew. The resources from REBI that allow me to treat my brokerage like it's larger than it actually is and give my agents top-notch education, that's just huge for me. I think it's an obstacle for many of us that are trying to list, sell, and run a reputable, ethical, profitable, successful brokerage. And I wish I had known about all of the resources at REBI, 20 years ago, never mind 27 years ago. So really, as a broker, that's my first go-to tip tool for this section.
All right. So mine is Meta glasses. So whereas I'm a little on the fence with Meta as far as an AI partner, I will tell you the Meta glasses are cool. They make you look like a super nerd, but I'll just give an example of this. Meta glasses are AI powered glasses that have a camera that you can either take video or photo. And I have walked around my last three listings. I've done this where I've walked around with the Meta glasses, the camera on, looking at the house to do a walkthrough and narrating sellable points and upgrades of the property, as well as a list of things that need to be addressed before it goes on the market. And I'll tell you, Kimberly, a lot recently, I did this, and I came back home and I got a transcription. I use an AI service to transcribe what I have that creates marketing content and emails to the client. Like it helps me kind of sort my thoughts out. One of the things that happened when I was watching the video back, I saw a dark spot in the corner of the ceiling of a bedroom that I did not see when I was in the house, whether shadows were hitting it or I just wasn't really paying attention to it. I saw it in the video, and come to find out, it was the roof had been leaking and there was mold, and the seller didn't know because they had renters in the property who hadn't reported it, and the seller was out of the country. So, I mean, that I just being able to go and inspect things, security reasons when you're meeting people at houses, whole bunch of reasons to start considering AI wearables when you're out and about. But that walking through the house, taking live video during the inspection and narrating it was a very valuable tool for me, and has really kind of helped clarify some marketing resources.
So, Matthew, I have a question for you about these Meta glasses because I'm so excited. Now I'm just going to run right out and buy them because I actually have a business use for them and can justify it. But should our listeners be concerned about their own laws in their own states about recording video with audio? And I'm thinking out loud that in public, it may not be a requirement because there likely is no expectation of privacy. But if you're in a home with somebody, just can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so just our typical disclosure that we are not your attorneys, and nor are we your broker. So you need to fall back on corporate counsel's guidance and your broker's policy here. And so we'll just speak kind of globally. There is an expectation of privacy when you're a guest in a private residence. There is some question, and there are some arguments that say buying a home doesn't make you, in other words, there's no expectation of privacy. You aren't permitted to use the bathroom without consent. You shouldn't be doing anything other than walking through with the intent to buy it. And for some nefarious stories, we'll tune in the future episodes and we'll tell you how people got in trouble for using for sale property for the wrong uses. um so inside of a residence, there is a reasonable idea of privacy that has been challenged in some states. Some states don't believe you have the right of privacy as a guest in the home. So if you're there and I record you doing something dumb in the property, like say a party's going on and you do something really dumb and I post it, I may not have any liability because there was a group there and you may or may not have been known you were being recorded. There's a whole muddy, murky mess. That's the set that aside. That's more for your personal life. For your business life, if it's outside of a house, it's in public, it's not like a restroom where there's an expectation of privacy. You're likely fine to be recording with camera, taking pictures, listening in to conversation or near you, because the person speaking had a obligation to themselves to distance themselves if they didn't want to be overheard. Um, so so I would, if I'm going into, I do when I go into the house. I'm in the Commonwealth of Virginia most of the time. I'm also licensed in DC and Maryland, and DC and Maryland are different than Virginia in this. Virginia is a one party consent state that says only the person recording needs to know they're being recorded. So, like, you couldn't record me and my friend talking in a house because there's an expectation of privacy. Outside would be fine. Um, but I still tell my sellers, actually, I guess I ask more than tell, hey, I'm going to be recording this for my own personal reference later for marketing content to make sure I don't miss anything. I want to focus on what you're talking about and not miss anything. I'm going to go ahead and record this. Let me know if it's not okay. It's typically my approach is I'm going to do this until you tell me to stop.
Yeah,
And
good
so
to
that
know.
gives me the opportunity to go to the house. And the instances that I've done the walkthrough, it's been just me kind of getting my ideas together without the client there, getting prepped for listing and marketing and how I'm going to detail this. And so there's nobody in the property. And in all three of these instances, the houses were vacant. So there was no real right expectation of policy or privacy, but I also wasn't sharing any of this. This was for me personally.
Yeah.
Um, in the houses. But if the house was occupied or my other humans were involved in the recording, I would let them know that they were being recorded.
So, and I'm so happy that you brought that up as your example because it's apparently all about me again. I I have for decades walked around with my phone recording video, not for marketing purposes, but because there are things that I want to refer to later that I might not be in the property to recall. And then I usually speak on the video, hardwood floors, forced hot water baseboard heat, newer windows, etc. And I'll do it as I walk around the property. A, I'm holding a phone, which is inconvenient. B, if I get a text message or some type of interruption, sometimes it screws up that video. Those videos are too large to do anything with, usually, because they go on for maybe 10, 15, or 20 minutes and I can't often share them. And then I find myself trying to pull a transcript from them. So you've kind of just taken the thing out of my hand. And through these glasses, the AI that's in them will, I mean, tell us a little bit about that platform. What does it do? It just automatically uploads through Wi Fi or Bluetooth into a platform that then you just click transcribe.
Yeah. So one of the other things that, in addition to what you're talking about with the video and the audio recording, with the Meta glasses, I can actually ask Meta questions. So if I'm looking at a hot water tank, I can go, "This is a hot water tank," and usually I'd be looking at the label or whatever. Or sometimes we see mystery boxes on the wall, like a Verizon blinking box, so we don't know what it goes to. We can ask AI, look at this. What model is it? What year is it? What's the failure rate? I just did this with a hot water tank not too long ago. What's the failure rate? What was the year that it was manufactured? Tell me more about this hot water tank, or digital device, whatever it is. And so she'll give you feedback in real time about that. But the video and audio resides on the chip on the glasses until you okay it to download to your phone, right? And then the phone gets the videos, the photos, the audio files that you can manipulate and add to your your phone photos or your file downloads. So they do work in companion with one another. The Wi-Fi service that powers the AI chip in the glasses comes from your phone Bluetooth, and so they are partnered together, paired together rather, to get that information. So
What's the
I mean,
price of these babies?
well, they come in different prices. So the pair that I got are the Ray-Ban Wayfarer sunglasses, because that's actually what I wore before AI glasses came out. That's my preferred sunglasses over probably 25, 30 years. Um, they come with different, again, sizes. You can get prescription lenses. The ones I got were transitions, so they're clear inside, they turn into sunglasses outside. They ran about $400. The new pair, the new generation that's come out, it actually has a video heads up display in the lens, is can be up to $800, and I have not pulled the trigger on those. I'm just not sure I'm gonna get $800 out of it. But even if I wanted to, I did have a moment the other day where I'm like, you know what, I had a good gig, it paid well, and I'm like, I deserve this, so I'm gonna go get these glasses. And I'm asking, AI, and I'm asking Google, like, who has them. You have to make an appointment to go get the glasses. And I was like, well, okay, maybe I don't need them that badly, because if I had to make an appointment, anything like my elbow, I have tendonitis, my elbow is killing me and I can't use it, and I'm like, but I got to make an appointment. Like, I would rather die than schedule an
Right.
appointment.
Yeah, we're not that
So
yeah, that's not us. We immediate gratification. Well, I feel like that you have just given me and our listeners, if you didn't get them for Christmas, now that you have a reason to go out and buy them, use them for dedicated note taking and memorializing all the things in the house that you may think you know or you don't. None of us like to guess, and our clients require us or demand of us that we're detail oriented and able to help keep them out of trouble. So this takes a lot of the guessing out. And I feel like it gives you an opportunity to take a second look at things that you might not have had the opportunity to do. So I love that. I love your ideas.
yeah, all those people who gave you gift cards who said, I love you, $50 worth, but didn't know what to get for you, take all those gift cards, put them together, cash them out, go look at some
Take,
Meta glasses.
take a REBI class and go buy some Meta goggles,
Yeah,
glasses.
congratulate yourself for finishing a class by getting you some Meta glasses. All right,
Absolutely.
well, that's a wrap for us. Thanks so much, Kimberly. Have a good
Thank you,
holiday.
Matthew.
We're out.
The Meet the Moment podcast is a production of the Real Estate Business Institute, an affiliate of the National Association of Realtors. Special thanks to CEO Jenny Scheib and to Dan Shea, our editor and content producer. The views and ideas expressed in this podcast are not necessarily shared or endorsed by REBI. All recommendations made in this episode were merely provided as best practices. The practices of any realtor are subject to the Realtor Code of Ethics, the laws and licensing jurisdiction, broker policies, and competent legal advice. Visit www.rebinstitute.com for more information, resources, education, and upcoming events.